strikes will go unanswered. Arabchi has said that US should leave Iran if it wants to be safe. Now, Iran says that no US strikes will be unanswered. This is clearly the escalation of the West Asia war. What we understand is that the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, has said that US should leave Iran if it wants to be safe. This is almost like a threat coming from the Iranian side. And now what we understand that Iran has said that no US strikes will go unanswered. In fact, Iran has also gone on to say that our forces will not leave any attack unanswered. Now, despite its defeat on the battlefield, from the Iranian side, the US has opted to test our determination. Our powerful armed forces will leave no attack or threat unanswered. If our region is what you want to be, if you leave our region, you got to be leaving our place and be feeling safe. Now, the history of the Persian Gulf has many chapters on dire fates of intruding outsiders. This is the warning coming from the Iranian side. And viewers, we're getting, as we speak, another breaking news. Iranian media has confirmed that at least 7 of the US strikes have reportedly been targeted. Bandar Abbas, Minab Kesham and Sirik in the southern Iran have been targeted, and the Iranian media has claimed that 7 of the US strikes in Iran have been witnessed and explosions are heard in Bandar Abbas, Minab and Sirik. Now, these are strategically important places of the southern of Iran, and these have been shot down by the US strikes that are coming in. And the Iranian media, in fact, has claimed and confirmed that 7 of these US strikes in Iran have been confirmed, while explosions have been heard in Bandar Abbas, in Minab and Sirik, which are strategically important to the southern of Lebanon. This is the big breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, that are coming in. These are fresh strikes that have taken place from the US side, and now Iran is going on to say that US strikes will not go unanswered. So clearly an escalation in the West Asia war is being witnessed. Donald Trump has confirmed that the US Apache helicopter, which was shot down by Iran while it was taking rounds over the Strait of Hormuz. Now, US Army has launched retaliatory strikes against Iran, and explosions are now reportedly been heard around the strategically important Minab, Bandar Abbas, and also around the areas of Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz. Viewers, the breaking news are non-stop while explosions are now reported in the islands of near the Strait of Hormuz. Now, these explosions are heard in the Sirik and Kesham Islands. These islands are very, very strategically important for Iran because you have a lot of energy supply that is witnessed around these areas. Now, Iranian media has confirmed that the US is targeting these energy supply centers of the Iranian islands, and several explosions are heard in Sirik and Kesham Islands, which is near the Strait of Hormuz. The US has claimed responsibility for these military aggressions and is confirming that these are retaliatory strikes against Iran for downing the very, very sophisticated US Apache helicopters. Also, Iran is saying that if it wants the United States to be safe, it has got to leave the area, while what we understand is that there is a crossfire of strikes that are being launched from both the sides. Viewers, Kyiv has now intensified its diplomatic efforts in a bid to force Moscow into direct talks to end the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Speaking in Estonia, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine is building a clear diplomatic strategy to ensure that Russia does not believe the war can still yield any benefits from it. Now, he's added that his troops' position on the front lines are strong as forces continue to battle Russia's invasion of the country. His visit to Estonia comes amid the friction over Ukrainian drones straying into the region in the recent months. Here's everything we know in this report.
Dozens were injured and 3 people were killed in a Russian overnight attack on Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Meanwhile, Ukraine has stepped up efforts to push Russia towards peace talks. During his visit to Estonia, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky pointed out that Ukraine's defense forces have significantly strengthened their positions on the front lines, which could be an important factor to push the Kremlin to the negotiating table.
Українські позиції на фронті сильні. Росія втрачає щомісяця більше ніж 30 тисяч своїх солдатів убитими і важко пораненими. Сильний і наш далекобійний вплив на російську логістику, на російську нафтопереробку, на російське військове виробництво. У тимчасово окупованому Криму та у частині регіонів Росії вже дефіцит бензину і місцями немає нормального зв'язку. Російський бюджет з пробоїнами. Треба тиснути далі і вивести Росію на дипломатичний трек.
He stated that he expects strong decisions from the EU regarding their future membership.
Дуже очікуємо сильні політичні рішення Європейського Союзу, які можуть і мають бути ухвалені вже влітку. Україна зробила все необхідне для відкриття всіх кластерів у перемовинах щодо нашого майбутнього членства. І саме зараз на найближчих зустрічах ЄС мають бути рішення щодо цього.
Zelensky accused Russia of trying to create divisions within the European Union, saying stray drones are often the result of electronic warfare interference and not deliberate actions by Ukraine. He added that Kyiv is ready to share its expertise with European partners to counter such threats and improve regional security.
Ми розуміємо, що робить Росія. Вона хоче ескалювати відносини всередині Європейського Союзу. Наприклад, коли йде наша відповідь на ті чи інші російські удари, і якщо в небі країн Латвії, Литви, Естонії з'являється російський дрон, зрозуміло для чого. І коли з'являється український дрон, ми розуміємо, що вони можуть змінювати курс наших дронів. Це не масово. Поодинокі такі випадки були завдяки системам радіоелектронної боротьби. Що для цього потрібно? Для цього потрібно, ми почали працювати. Ми маємо вже досвід такої роботи з країнами Близького Сходу. Ми відправили свої експертні групи, вони навчили, показали, що робити. І це достатньо швидкі і сильні рішення. Ми зробили це в Близькому Сході, і це спрацювало. Зараз ми готові зробити те саме з нашими близькими партнерами в Європі.
As of now, 11 drone strikes on Kharkiv have been confirmed, with 2 drones crashing without detonating. Zelensky and Estonian president agreed to work on cheaper ways to shoot down drones that have flown over Estonia. Zelensky said Ukraine is ready to share its drone defense expertise with European allies and can deploy expert teams at any time. Estonia, a key backer of Ukraine, said drone incidents may continue as the war drags on.
Viewers, shifting our focus to another developing story where fresh political drama has unfolded outside Rawalpindi's Adilia jail. Once again, former Prime Minister Imran Khan's sister was stopped by the police while attempting to meet him on the designated family visitation day. Now, the incident has renewed questions over the restrictions surrounding Khan's imprisonment as his supporters continue to allege that he is being denied regular access to his family. Here's a report.
Fresh drama unfolded outside Adiala jail as Pakistan police stopped Imran Khan's sister from meeting the former Prime Minister. Tuesday is designated as a day for Imran Khan to meet members of his family. However, his sisters were not allowed to meet him despite arriving at the jail for the visit.
इमरान खान का ये इमरान खान के साथ नाजायज़ कर रहे हैं कि उनको कैद तन्हाई में रखा हुआ है पिछले अक्टूबर से, और सिर्फ मेरी बहन 3 दफ़ा मुलाकात की और 2 दफ़ा लॉयर ने किया। 5 मुलाकातें हैं पिछले इतने महीनों से। तो ये इमरान खान के साथ जुल्म नहीं कर रहे, ये अपना खौफ जाहिर कर रहे हैं। ये जो लोग हैं ये अपना खौफ जाहिर कर रहे हैं, और अगर इनके अंदर अकल होती तो ये इस वक्त इमरान खान को कैद तन्हाई में ना इस तरह छोड़ते कि एक लीडर है, पाकिस्तान की सबसे बड़ी जमात के लीडर है, पाकिस्तान उनसे उम्मीद रखी हुई है, और आजकल से आज इतनी सख्त ज़रूरत है पाकिस्तान को इमरान खान की। क्यों? पाकिस्तान को जोड़ के रखने के लिए, पाकिस्तान को मुत्तहिद रखने के लिए।
Imran Khan has been lodged in Adiala jail for more than 600 days amid a series of legal and political battles. His party has repeatedly alleged that restrictions are being placed on his communication and family access. The incident has once again sparked a political debate in Pakistan over the treatment of the former Prime Minister. With tensions continuing between the government and the Khan supporters, the controversy surrounding Adiala jail shows no signs of ending.
Definitely a lot of political drama unfolding in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and also in Pakistan, but now shifting our focus to many more international stories in this international wrap. The US military launched self-defense strikes against Iran in response to the downing of the US Army AH-64 Apache attack helicopter, which President Donald Trump said was shot down by Iran. Ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's scheduled visit from June 14 to 16, Slovakia's ambassador described the trip as historic, strategic and symbolic. The visit is expected to strengthen bilateral trade in technology and defense cooperation. NASA has announced the astronaut crew for the Artemis 3 mission, the next major step in its program to return humans to the moon. The mission will test critical technologies needed for future lunar landings and long-term space exploration. Ambassador of Uruguay to India's Alberto Antonio Giovanni Amarilla praised India's growing use of renewable energy and said expanding solar, wind and biomass power will help countries achieve energy independence and strong development. And viewers, now moving on to national news. The political storm surrounding the Trinamool Congress intensified on Tuesday as fresh developments unfolded in the alleged forged signature case. While TMC Supremo Mamata Banerjee remained tight-lipped when questions were confronted with her, and these were in New Delhi following her meeting with Sonia Gandhi. A major controversy has erupted in Kolkata while CID teams reached the residence of both Mamata Banerjee and Abhishek Banerjee as part of their probe into allegations that forged signatures of TMC MLAs were used in a proposal submitted to the Assembly Speaker. Now, the move has triggered sharp political reactions, with TMC accusing the BJP-led administration of vendetta politics. More in this report.
Why are you not cooperating with me?
Faced with Republic's questions, TMC Supremo Mamata Banerjee had no reply.
Why are you not cooperating with CID?
No answers, no accountability, just silence. As our reporter pressed on, Mamata got into her car and drove off, leaving a trail of unanswered questions behind. Mamata Banerjee was confronted while she was leaving Sonia Gandhi's residence, whom she met a day after the Indie Bloc meeting. While Mamata with other opposition party attempted a political reset in the national capital, high drama unfolded outside Mamata Banerjee's Kalighat residence in Kolkata. CID team reached Mamata's residence to conduct search operation as a part of IT's investigation into allegations of the party using forced signature of MLAs.
West Bengal politics is witnessing unprecedented turmoil today as the CID intensified its probe into the alleged signature forgery case, tightening the screws on the TMC leadership. In a dramatic development, a CID team reached the residence of Mamata Banerjee in Kolkata, even as TMC National General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee remains under the scanner.
The investigating team was prevented from entering the premises by TMC Treasurer Subhashish Chakrabarti, leading to a brief standoff with the security personnel posted at the complex.
Not in accordance with law. Because Mamata Banerjee is not in a picture. Neither any FIR has been lodged against Mamata Banerjee. Nor she has been called as a witness anywhere. This is a vindictive attitude initiated by Shubhendu Adhikari, Chief Minister. He is arrogant, he is autocrat, he is a vindictive person. Absolutely a vindictive person. For his vindictiveness, thousands and thousands of persons have been arrested.
Another team of CID officials simultaneously reached the residence of Abhishek Banerjee as a part of searches linked to the case. A controversy at the heart of an unprecedented split within the opposition party.
उसी तरीके से कंधे पर जैसे बैठ के शिवसेना के महाराष्ट्र में घुसी थी बीजेपी, आज वो ओरिजिनल तो इनके साथ में है नहीं, अब बात दूसरी के कुछ कहते रहे। श्रोमणी अकाली दल इनके पार्टनर थे, वो आउट हो गई। एनसी इनकी पार्टनर थी, वो आउट हो गई। जदयू है उसको इन्होंने ख़त्म कर दिया। नवीन पटनायक इनका समर्थन करता था पहले, बाद में आउटसाइड सपोर्ट देता था, उसकी अपनी कंपल्शंस थी, वो ख़त्म हो गया। उसी तरीके सारी पार्टियाँ इन्होंने ख़त्म कर दी। तो हमारे यहाँ थोड़ा अंतर्विरोध है, तो उसको लेकर के क्या प्रॉब्लम? अंतर्विरोध था, आज इकट्ठे होंगे। अगर देश को बचाना है तो फिर साथ में रहना है।
Abhishek Banerjee was summoned for the third time by CID to appear on Tuesday. But Abhishek Banerjee wrote a letter to CID citing he is unable to appear on Tuesday as he is currently in New Delhi. The case pertains to allegations that Mamata Banerjee's faction used forged signatures of TMC MLAs on a proposal submitted to the Assembly Speaker for recognition of the leader of opposition.
We are shifting our focus that today marks a milestone in Indian politics. Prime Minister Narendra Modi crossed a historic benchmark that has been the longest serving head of government in the office, beating Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's elected tenure, which was counted from 1952 when India held its first general election to 1964. Now, PM Modi has been in the office from 2014 till now, but that's not where it ends. Taken with his long period at the helm of Gujarat as the Chief Minister, PM Modi would be completing 25 years as the head of a government, state, central, later this year. Now, this is a quarter of the century of making a difference to the politics and governance of the country. It can easily be called the Modi era, where he has been the dominant political force. The PM Modi story is no longer just about elections. It is about political longevity, governance and legacy. Take a look.
June 10, a date that marks a political milestone. Prime Minister Narendra Modi crossed a major landmark. Another record to a career that has redefined India's political landscape. PM Modi became the longest serving elected Prime Minister, beating Jawaharlal Nehru. From a sweep in 2014 to an even bigger mandate in 2019 and a third term in 2024. PM Modi has built what many call India's most durable political brand in decades. But this story did not begin in Delhi. It began in Gujarat. PM Modi spent more than a decade as a chief minister, perfecting what became the Gujarat model of development. From digital payments to highway expansion to welfare delivery. Many flagship programs have been built around scale, speed and direct delivery. Demonetization, GST, Article 370 abrogation, Ram Mandir, CAA. Each move reshaped the national conversation.
देश के लोकप्रिय और यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी 12 साल से इस देश को आगे बढ़ाने का काम कर रहे हैं। उनका सबसे ज्यादा आज तक के इतिहास में सबसे ज्यादा यशस्वी पूर्ण प्रधानमंत्री जी का कार्यकाल निभाने वाले नरेंद्र मोदी जी एक अलग पहचान उन्होंने बनाई है।
India's role in the Quad, G20 presidency, global South outreach, and strategic balancing between major powers became central to the Modi doctrine. From a chai wala narrative to the longest continuous elected stint milestone, PM Modi's journey has already entered the history books. and it's not over yet.
Clearly marking his legacy, PM Modi. Now it's time to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere because there's a lot more lined up on the other side. Coming up, US Army strikes Iran after Trump confirms US helicopter shot down. Iranian media claims explosions heard across Iran.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
In fact, very often I believe the only way to get justice in India is a media trial. So there's no reason for the media, if it's doing a good job of a media trial, to be on the back foot. In fact, the courts should stop making these overarching remarks about media trial and contemplate about one very basic thing. With the greatest of respect to the courts, when the other institutions fail, when people get let down by the system, when even the judiciary does not seem to be listening or raising a noise about issues, like in the case of Twisha Sharma, who does the public look to for justice, for raising their voice, for bringing something that's utterly false, illegal or wrong to public attention? It is only and only the media. And today, therefore, we are doing a media trial in this specific case, ladies and gentlemen, of Twisha Sharma, the 33-year-old daughter-in-law of an ex-judge, in a case where the ex-judge and the ex-judge's advocate's son appear to be more than involved. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 questions tonight. And if they think it's a media trial, so be it. So be it. Why did the ex-judge in the case of Twisha Sharma, neither she nor her son call a police or an ambulance? What took them 57 minutes to bring the body down? Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's medical examination was not conducted? The police station is right behind the ex-judge's Giribala's house. Why was no call made? Why did it take 5 days to file an FIR in the case? Who stalled it? Why was the victim's family attacked in court if there's nothing to hide? And did a very senior police officer go to AIIMS that night to try and fudge the post-mortem report? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking these questions. Now I ask you, am I right or wrong in asking these questions? And if I don't, who will? Will the government of Madhya Pradesh raise these questions? The Chief Minister doesn't have 30 seconds to meet the victim's family. Will the higher courts of the country raise these questions? So far, I have not seen this case being picked up by the appellate courts, though we are screaming and shouting about it. So I say tonight, what happens when other institutions fail? And if we do a media trial, should we be celebrated and supported for doing so? Was Aravali a media trial? Yes, it was. It was. Thank God for that. Thank God for that media trial which stopped the Aravalis from being destroyed. Was the Pune Porsche case a media trial where innocents were killed by a rich brat and the whole system colluded to give the
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
I want to start with some very disturbing pictures that have come in of a so-called right-wing leader. His name is Sushil Prajapati. He is accused of rape. After being in jail for 9 months, he gets bail, which means he's still an accused. He's an accused in a rape case. And the case goes back to 2025 when he took an LLB student to one place on the pretext of introducing her to a senior advocate. He drugged her drink and then he sexually assaulted her. He is still under trial for rape. He has not been released. But when he comes out, this rape accused, garlands are put on him as if he's some kind of a hero, as if he's achieved something great. Is a rapist to be celebrated, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you that question. And more than anyone else, I ask the right wing of this country. Very often I come on television and I say, yes, on several issues, I'm happy to be called a right-winger. But ladies and gentlemen, let me put it clearly. You cannot let a person like this man, this Sushil Prajapati, a leader of the Hindu Yuva Vahini, a local thug, a man accused of rape, you cannot celebrate his act of rape or celebrate the fact that the rapist is out on bail. If that is the message we want to send to our society, and if all the BJP leaders want to be quiet about it, I want to ask them, why are they quiet about this? Why are they quiet? In the silence of the BJP leaders, is there a tacit support to this person? Is there a feeling that anyone who wears or puts a, proclaims that he is from a so-called
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से।
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
In fact, very often I believe the only way to get justice in India is a media trial. So there's no reason for the media, if it's doing a good job of a media trial, to be on the back foot. In fact, the courts should stop making these overarching remarks about media trial and contemplate about one very basic thing. With the greatest of respect to the courts, when the other institutions fail, when people get let down by the system, when even the judiciary does not seem to be listening or raising a noise about issues, like in the case of Twisha Sharma. Who does the public look to for justice, for raising their voice, for bringing something that's utterly false, illegal or wrong to public attention? It is only and only the media. And today, therefore, we are doing a media trial in this specific case, ladies and gentlemen, of Twisha Sharma, the 33-year-old daughter-in-law of an ex-judge, in a case where the ex-judge and the ex-judge's advocate's son appear to be more than involved. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 questions tonight. And if they think it's a media trial, so be it. So be it. Why did the ex-judge in the case of Twisha Sharma, neither she nor her son call a police or an ambulance? What took them 57 minutes to bring the body down? Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's medical examination was not conducted? The police station is right behind the ex-judge's Giribala's house. Why was no call made? Why did it take 5 days to file an FIR in the case? Who stalled it? Why was...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and a very good morning. You're watching live this morning. Now, President Donald Trump has issued fresh launches and strikes of attack on Iran. We're going to give you all of those updates in the big breaking news that are going to be following in this bulletin. But first up, the headlines. PM Modi to create history, set to become India's longest continuously serving PM. 12 years of PM Modi government complete. PM Modi to chair meeting with CMs, deputy CMs of NDA states and union territories on June 11. "14 Kuki hostages held captive since May 13th to for 27 days, formally released in a peaceful manner." Congress candidate Meenakshi Natarajan's nomination rejected for Rajya Sabha polls, party delegation to meet ECI. Over 50 dead, 200 injured as security forces opened fire on protesters in POK. Trump vows retaliation for downing US helicopters. CENTCOM launches fresh quote-unquote defensive strikes on Iran. At least 7 US strikes reported in multiple cities in southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas and Manab. All right, viewers, we are getting a first breaking for this bulletin. Now, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, which is the IRGC, has said that it has launched a drone attack on the US Navy's 5th Fleet. This happened in Bahrain at about 2:30 a.m. local time on Wednesday. This has come after the CENTCOM has confirmed that it began self-defense strikes on Iran on Tuesday. Now, what we are understanding is that there has been a fresh strike that has taken place, and it has been confirmed by the CENTCOM that a self-defense strike on Iran has taken place on Tuesday. At least 7 of these US strikes have been reportedly targeted on the strategically important energy supplies of Bandar Abbas, of Manab and of Keshab Islands and in Sirik of the southern of Iran. On your television screens are fresh visuals, which are the strikes that took place where the United States has striked southern Iran. On your television screen right now, it has been clearly reported that these are retaliatory strikes, and IRGC has launched They said that a drone attack on the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain, and now the CENTCOM, in retaliation of, or if I may say so, in self-defense, striked on Iran, and at least 7 of these US strikes have been reportedly targeted in Bandar Abbas, in Minab, in Keshav Islands, and in Sirik in the southern of Iran. I have my colleague Shivam joining us from the newsroom right now. Shivam, retaliatory strikes have taken place between the United States and Iran and the US, and this entire West Asia war is setting to be resuming. Your understanding on this so far?
Yeah, clearly, Nayan, this is another escalation, and we are always back to square one when we talk about the West Asian conflict, because earlier things were improving, and it was Donald Trump who wanted peace, and there were Iranian strikes against Israel in a response to the attack that were being conducted by Israel against Hezbollah in Beirut, in the Lebanon regions, in many regions of Lebanon. Now, after that, Donald Trump asked Netanyahu not to continue the strikes, and Netanyahu did pay heed to his request also, as you can say. However, earlier, even after the request of Donald Trump, Israel had launched back the strikes against Iran as a response to the strikes of Iran by Israel. Now, after that, situation seemed to be normal, and however, there was a warning by Israel that if there are strikes, we will retaliate back and we will hit back harder. Now, after that, there was a report that a US Apache helicopter it went down. Either it was shot down, it was not confirmed earlier, but then Donald Trump himself had confirmed that the Apache helicopter, a sophisticated military helicopter, was shot down. Now, after the confirmation, he also added the very important fact that has to be noted, that it was shot down by the Iranians, that is the IRGC. Now, we must understand that there is a ceasefire, a truce, no matter how fragile it is, but it is in place, so that needs to be respected by both the parties. However, it was a patrolling Apache helicopter. It was patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz, and it happened because there were tensions already that were happening between Iran and Israel during that times, and maybe this might have been a miscommunication by the IRGC and the transfer of orders, or the sort of things which happen usually during war. Now, Donald Trump had said that we will respond, and we might respond, we must respond, and we have to act fast. And so he responded, and there were strikes which were confirmed by US CENTCOM. Now, after that, as you see, now US CENTCOM has also confirmed that yes, we have launched strikes, and they are proportional to the Iranian aggression. So they have responded to the Iranian aggression in their language, and they have struck. And after that, we had many reports. We have also many big breaking news developments. We'll also break those developments along of the strikes which happened, because the strikes have happened at many places, in Keshav, in Minab. All right.
Right. All right, viewers, we're getting another big breaking news. Right now, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said they have launched a drone attack, and the US has completed its strikes in response to Iran's attack on the Apache helicopters, which were taken down by the Iranian side. Now, meanwhile, what we understand is the United States Central Command, which is called the CENTCOM, and has sent its forces, and it's completed a self-defense strike against Iran, which was on June 9th, as of today, 2:30 a.m. local time. And the Commander-in-Chief has directed its response to the yesterday's downing of the US Army Apache helicopter. The West Asia war seems to be escalating, and clearly, right now, there is a proportional response from both the sides. And this operation that has been conducted from the United States side is now transiting its regional waters. Now, CENTCOM forces have struck the Iranian air defense, ground control stations, surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz with precision of munition from the US Air Force Navy fighter jets. Shivam, now what I also understand right now, it is not just the United Nations. When I speak about the United States CENTCOM, we're also talking about the Air Force, the Navy fighter jets, and they're working in an operation to give a proportional response to the recent attacks on the US forces. Now, what is it that can be understood from this proportional responses that have been taken from the other side as well?
Yeah, so this is a proportional response because, Donald Trump also did not want to escalate this further and because he understands the repercussions, because Iran it was a clear miscalculation by the US military, by the US government, especially by Donald Trump, that they can continue a long war against Iran because Iran had the drone technology, had the missile technology, and they had all of them at a very cheaper rate compared to the interceptors that you have when it comes to Israel, or the interceptors that you have when it comes to American military, Air Force or Army, or Navy. Now this has to be understood that Donald Trump wanted things to be in control. However, because of the escalation, and you understand that if somebody shoots down a US Apache helicopter, even though it's a fragile truce, or even though the pilots were not killed and fortunately they were uninjured and they were safe, even then he was bound to respond, and he responded, and this has been confirmed by the Iranian media also. Now 7 strikes have taken place, that's what we are getting, and various strikes have been completed as per CENTCOM, the strikes that were launched. Now such messages are usually given to make the statement clear that yes, we have done our job, it was you who started and then it's us who has responded, and let's end it here. But however, it doesn't seem like that the IRGC is going to stop here. Now, Saeed Abbas Arakchi also has given a statement that you must leave immediately, you must leave the Strait of Hormuz. So there is a clear-cut warning by the IRGC, by the Iranian regime right now. They're threatening the US military that if you want to be safe, you must leave this location, you can't stay here. And also IRGC is warning of more strikes right now. We also breaking development, we have to confirm, but our sources also tell that MQ-9 Reaper drone has also been shot down. So you can understand the magnanimity. There's sophisticated drones, sophisticated helicopters and state-of-the-art military equipments that the US military has, and it's getting devastated, and it's a big setback, it's a big jolt to the US military, one after the other, to the US Navy, Air Force, one after the other. Earlier also, Nayan, you must remember that their refueler tankers were struck, and they were struck hard, and the Donald Trump went into face-saving mode because their defense stocks even took a hit, because compared to the Iranian, the warfare equipment that they have, the arsenal that they have, very cheap drones, the kamikaze Shahid drones, other drones that they have, which can be produced easily, faster, and are cheaper, and are difficult to intercept, and they launch their very expensive drones to intercept. And even the US military and the Israeli defense forces, they were out of interceptors, and you can understand, everybody speaks about Iron Dome, Arrow, David Sling, but the situation is not as good, and it's very difficult for replenishment, man.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Shivam, for giving us all of those updates. Clearly, Strait of Hormuz is not international waters. What I also understand is that the Foreign Minister, Abbas Arakchi, is clearly operating from a space where he's kind of creating boundaries for the maritime that exist, and the boundaries are very clear from his side. Thank you, Shivam, for giving us all of those updates. Viewers, it's now time to shift our focus to Pakistan, where Pakistan's troubles in the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir appear to be far from over. From what began as a protest movement has now escalated into a major confrontation between demonstrators and the Pakistani state. Now, with reports coming that the death toll has now risen, allegations of excessive force and fresh protests are spreading beyond POK to the United Kingdom. Now, questions are being raised about Islamabad's grip over the region, and then the government moves against the protest leaders. And the big question is now coming along, is Pakistan losing control over the POK? UK MP, whose name is Bob Blackman, in an exclusive conversation also spoke about the ongoing violence in the POK. Listen in to this excerpt from this conversation.
As the atrocities continue in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, as civilians get shot at by the Pakistan Army, the world is watching, and we saw a letter come in from the parliamentarians in the UK. Over 50 of them signed a letter questioning the Pakistan government and the Pakistan Army. So today we have with us Bob Blackman. Bob Blackman is a member of parliament from the UK, joining us on the broadcast. Bob Blackman, have you been monitoring the situation in POK, which is illegally occupied Kashmir?
As you quite rightly say, we have the illegal occupation of Kashmir by the Pakistani army and armed forces. We've got the Pakistani armed forces now firing live ammunition on civilians in the illegal occupation of Kashmir by the Pakistani army. And indeed, we've got obviously the challenge of their demands from the civilian population for action to be taken to allow them to protest and also to get reinforcement of their human rights. The rest of the world seems to not be actually calling on the Pakistanis to do very much here, and it seems to be very, very quiet. So thank you for highlighting this problem that is taking place currently in this illegally occupied part of Kashmir. As you say, a large contingent of British MPs have written to the Foreign Secretary asking for action and indeed asking for the Pakistani High Commissioner to be brought in to account for what's going on. The sad reality is of course, that this has been going on for quite a long time and human rights have been suppressed. Also, what your viewers need to understand is the MPs that have written are the people that actually support the illegal occupation by Pakistan of Kashmir. This is the all-party parliamentary group for Kashmir, as they put it, but actually it's all this basically is the Pakistan side of the Kashmir argument. I have been at the forefront of saying, quite rightly, of course, that the whole of Jammu and Kashmir is part of India and it should be reunited in India. The Pakistani army should leave the valley. The terrorist bases should be dismantled and the whole of the area returned as was originally intended for the rule from India. There's an opportunity because of the security position in the whole of Jammu and Kashmir, if this happens, for great commercial activity, including the position in relation to commerce, tourism, hydroelectric projects, and handicrafts. And unfortunately, this is all getting in the way because of the security situation that's evolved. The good news, of course, is that we've had democratic elections in Pakistan occupied, in the Indian part of Kashmir, which is properly administered by India. Those elections have taken place and been very successful, and a true order of democracy is arising. And of course, there's been conferences and other activities in the area that India controls. Now we're getting the position whereby in Gilgit and Balochistan and other parts of the Kashmir Valley, where suppression is taking place by the Pakistani forces. It's quite clear that this should be called out, that the British government and all members of the United Nations should be calling on the Pakistani forces to desist and indeed make sure that we're in a position whereby the Pakistani withdraw from the territory and restore the state to its original position.
But you see, Mr. Bob Blackman, what happens is, Kashmir is ours. We believe that POK is also ours. It is our territory. And, just to let you know, today we had this, path-breaking tunnel being inaugurated called the Zojila Tunnel. It's at a breakthrough stage, which will help our forces reach our borders in just 12 minutes. It's a 13-kilometer tunnel, one of the best in the world, designed primarily to be functional around the clock. And you mentioned the elections in Kashmir. Yes, you're spot on there. We've had an elections, and Kashmir. The people of Kashmir are happy. The people of Kashmir are their lives have changed in the last 10 to 15 years. I can tell you that. And what we are hearing is that the people of POK have had enough of this Munir regime. And the reason why I say it's Munir regime, we all know that it is Asim Munir who calls the shot. He calls himself the field marshal. He calls the shots there. And you saw the pictures. It is the Pakistani army that is massacring people on the streets. They're being caught on camera, shooting point blank at protesters, at civilians. And now if, God forbid, had this happened in India, there would have been global outrage. But I'm sad to note that it's sad to note that there is absolutely no global outrage. Of course, there are a few MPs from the UK, but apart from that, it's sad to see that countries like the US are allies, and they call Asim Munir to the White House, and the best of friends. They praise each other. It is such a shame. 30 people have been shot dead in cold blood, sir.
Indeed, and some of those, I believe, are British nationals. So there is a concern, obviously being expressed in the UK, about what has happened. I think what you're saying at the moment is, of course, the United States is relying on Pakistan to act as a mediator between the United States and Iran on trying to solve the problems of the Middle East. And so, therefore, the United States don't seem to want to do anything to upset the Pakistani government. The reality is, as you say, there is oppression on the streets in the illegally occupied part of Kashmir by Pakistan. The reality is, I agree with you completely. The whole of the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir is a sovereign part of India, and therefore it should be restored to that position. Equally, of course, I've long been calling for the Kashmiri Pandits who were forced at the point of a gun to leave the valley to have the right of return, to enable them to go back to their historic homes, if they so wish. Yes. But, of course, the security position has been such that many of those have been reluctant to do so anyway. What we've got to make sure of now is, as you quite rightly say, the United Nations should be taking action here. The American authorities, the British government, and everyone else who regards the position in relation to this long-standing dispute that has got to be resolved. And the reality is that if you've got an oppressive army literally shooting civilians on the street, that just demonstrates that actually the people of POK have had enough.
Yes.
They want to go back to the position whereby they're restored to the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir and restored to Indian rule.
Let's see where the story goes. We just hope that, we hear some more, voices, especially from the West, which most often loves to talk about Kashmir, but most often tends to overlook what happens in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Thank you, Mr. Bob Blackman, for speaking.
So could I just say, before I go,
please,
congratulations to Narendra Modi becoming the longest-serving elected Prime Minister in India tomorrow. And I hope that he continues in his beneficial rule for many, many years to come. He's done a remarkable job leading India over the past few years, and indeed, of course, leading the state of Gujarat before that. So, Jai Hind, Jai Modi ji.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bob Blackman. Good to talk to you.
Well, that was an exclusive conversation with Bob Blackman with our editor, Niranjan Narayan Swamy. Now it's time to slip into a short break. Don't go anywhere because there's many news lined up on the other side. 14 Kuki hostages held captive since May 13 for 27 days, formally released in a peaceful manner.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
I want to start with some very disturbing pictures that have come in of a so-called right-wing leader. His name is Sushil Prajapati. He's accused of rape. After being in jail for 9 months, he gets bail, which means he's still an accused. He's an accused in a rape case. And the case goes back to 2025 when he took an LLB student to one place on the pretext of introducing her to a senior advocate. he drugged her drink, and then he sexually assaulted her. He is still under trial for rape. He has not been released. But when he comes out, this rape accused, garlands are put on him as if he's some kind of a hero, as if he's achieved something great. Is a rapist to be celebrated, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you that question. And more than anyone else, I ask the right wing of this country. Very often I come on television and I say, yes, on several issues, I'm happy to be called a right-winger. But ladies and gentlemen, let me put it clearly. You cannot let a person like this man, this Sushil Prajapati, a leader of the Hindu Yuva Vahini, a local thug, a man accused of rape, you cannot celebrate his act of rape or celebrate the fact that the rapist is out on bail. If that is the message we want to send to our society, and if all the BJP leaders want to be quiet about it, I want to ask them, why are they quiet about this? Why are they quiet? In the silence of the BJP leaders, is there a tacit support to this person? Is there a feeling that anyone who wears or puts a, proclaims that he is from a so-called Hindu organization, that he will be allowed to get away with absolutely everything, including an act of rape? Is there a feeling that this man, do right-wingers feel, this man, this accused rapist is one of our own? So hence, regardless of what happens, one of our own should never be accused. It's like all those people, those radical Islamists who say that as long...
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट
ऑप्टो रोमा मैनुअल वाइंडिंग 4 लोगों के पास है ये
कुछ इससे भी अनोखा
कमला पसंद सिर्फ एक अनोखा स्वाद कमला पसंद पान मसाला
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरी राजा प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा
In fact, very often I believe the only way to get justice in India is a media trial. So there's no reason for the media, if it's doing a good job of a media trial, to be on the back foot. In fact, the courts should stop making these overarching remarks about media trial and contemplate about one very basic thing. With the greatest of respect to the courts, when the other institutions fail, when people get let down by the system, when even the judiciary does not seem to be listening or raising a noise about issues, like in the case of Twisha Sharma. Who does the public look to for justice, for raising their voice, for bringing something that's utterly false, illegal or wrong to public attention? It is only and only the media. And today, therefore, we are doing a media trial in this specific case, ladies and gentlemen, of Twisha Sharma, the 33-year-old daughter-in-law of an ex-judge, in a case where the ex-judge and the ex-judge's advocate's son appear to be more than involved. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 questions tonight. And if they think it's a media trial, so be it. So be it. Why did the ex-judge in the case of Twisha Sharma, neither she nor her son call a police or an ambulance? What took them 57 minutes to bring the body down? Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's medical examination was not conducted? The police station is right behind the ex-judge's Giribala's house. Why was no call made? Why did it take 5 days to file an FIR in the case? Who stalled it?
PM Modi to create history, set to become India's longest continuously serving Prime Minister. 12 years of PM Modi government complete. PM Modi to chair meeting with CMs, Deputy CMs of NDA states and Union territories on June 11. "14 Kuki hostages held captive since May 13 for 27 days, formally released in a peaceful manner." Congress candidate Meenakshi Natarajan's nomination rejected for Rajya Sabha polls, party delegation to meet ECI. And over 50 dead, 200 injured as security forces open fire on protesters in POK. Trump vows retaliation for downing of US helicopter, that is the Apache, and CENTCOM launches fresh quote-unquote defensive strikes on Iran. At least 7 US strikes reported in multiple cities in southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas, Minab. Very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Republic TV. This is Shivam Dutt Mehta, and let's begin this bulletin with all the latest updates that we are getting from the West Asian conflict, because the war is on and we are back to square one. And as per the new reports, as per Iranian media reports, an American MQ-9 Reaper drone has been shot down in Bushehr. Big development, ladies and gentlemen. This is as big as it can be. Now, this is a Reaper drone, a state-of-the-art technology, a sophisticated drone of the US Army. The Reaper drone, the MQ-9 Reaper drone has been shot down. This is the latest that we are getting, and this is as per Iranian media reports, the IRGC, and this is being confirmed by the Iranian media just after the escalation by the US military, because there have been 7 strikes, various strikes at various places. Now we have the MQ-9 Reaper drone that has been shot down in Iran's Bushehr. This is a very big setback for the US military, for the US Air Force, for the US Navy, and for Donald Trump. Iranian media claims MQ-9 Reaper drone has been shot down in Bushehr. First on Republic, or this exclusive news, exclusive development, ladies and gentlemen, an MQ-9 drone has been shot down. These are the visuals of what exactly an MQ-9 drone is, and this is a state-of-the-art sophisticated MQ-9 drone which has been shot down by the IRGC as per the claims by the Iranian media. In this case, this is very big, very significant that we are getting a very big setback for the US military, that we are getting big development. MQ-9 drone shot down. All right, viewers, we're getting another big breaking news development. Let's go across to that big breaking news development that we are getting. And it is about the strikes. It is about the strikes that we are getting, the renewed strikes. And this is the US military, which says that the strikes in response to Iran's attack on Apache, we have completed the self-defense strikes against Iran June 9 at the Commander-in-Chief's direction in response to yesterday's downing of a US Apache, Army Apache helicopter. CENTCOM forces struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations and surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz with precision munitions from US Air Force and Navy fighter jets. The operation was a proportional response to recent attacks on US forces and international commercial ships transiting regional waters. Now, US forces remain vigilant and postured to defend against unjustified Iranian aggression. Now, that we are getting big breaking news development on the West Asian conflict, a big setback for the US military, for the US Air Force, because their Apache helicopter was shot down. And after that, there was a military response by the US Army, by the US military, in where 7 strikes took place, which was even confirmed by the Iranian media in various places, Bandar Abbas, Minab, Sirik. 7 strikes took place, and now we are getting even more reports. We are getting more reports that there might be strikes at other bases, at other US bases across the Middle East that might be happening, but we'll have to wait and watch for all the confirmation that we need to get on this, because Arakchi has warned that leave this location if you want to stay safe, and this is the clear-cut warning by Sayyid Abbas Arakchi, by Iran, and that you must leave the Strait of Hormuz, because the helicopter which was shot down, it was patrolling in the Strait of Hormuz, and this is the IRGC which claims complete control over the Strait of Hormuz, and now this war escalates to a level from where it's again getting difficult. It will be difficult for Donald Trump to come back, because there seems to be no end, one escalation after the other. There was also a big breaking news development where it was confirmed, it was claimed by the IRGC that they have struck the 5th fleet. They have struck the 5th fleet. Now that's what they are claiming to do. And now in a set of escalation, as you see, Iran's air defense ground stations and radars have been struck. That is what the CENTCOM says. This is very big, ladies and gentlemen. IRGC targets US Navy's 5th fleet in Bahrain with drones. That's what we are getting. All right, viewers, now let's focus on the Middle East conflict, the West Asian conflict. Now, the Middle East remains on edge as Israeli airstrikes pounded multiple locations across southern Lebanon, killing civilians and triggering fresh fears of escalation. Now, the strikes targeted areas in Nabatea and Tyre, with Israel also issuing a new evacuation warning for residents of the southern port city. Now, the attacks come just hours after Israel and Iran exchanged fire for the first time since the ceasefire brokered 2 months ago. Here's a report.
Fresh Israeli airstrikes target multiple locations across southern Lebanon. Several areas in Nabatea hit as explosions rocked the region. At least 8 people were killed in airstrikes on neighborhoods in Tyre. Several others wounded as rescue teams rushed to affected areas. Massive plumes of smoke rising above buildings. Israel issues fresh evacuation orders for residents of Tyre. The warning also covers the city's Christian neighborhoods. Israel claims Hezbollah operatives may be operating from the area. The latest Israel-Hezbollah conflict has killed around 3,500 people. More than 1.2 million people have been forced from their homes. The strikes come hours after Israel and Iran exchanged fire following months of relative calm. Even as Iran later signaled a halt to offensive operations, fears of a wider regional escalation continue to grow.
Right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. Now, Kyiv has intensified diplomatic efforts in a bid to force Moscow into direct talks to end the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, speaking in Estonia, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine is building a clear diplomatic strategy to ensure that Russia does not believe the war can still yield any benefits for it. Now, he added that his troops' positions on the front lines are strong as forces continues to battle Russia's invasion of the country. Now, his visit to Estonia comes amid friction over Ukrainian drones straying into the region in recent months. Here's more into the story.
Dozens were injured and 3 people were killed in a Russian overnight attack on Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Meanwhile, Ukraine has stepped up efforts to push Russia towards peace talks. During his visit to Estonia, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky pointed out that Ukraine's defense forces have significantly strengthened their positions on the front lines, which could be an important factor to push the Kremlin to the negotiating table.
Українські позиції на фронті сильні. Росія втрачає щомісяця більше ніж 30 тисяч своїх солдатів убитими і важко пораненими. Сильний і наш далекобійний вплив на російську логістику, на російську нафтопереробку, на російське військове виробництво. У тимчасово окупованому Криму та у частині регіонів Росії вже дефіцит бензину і місцями немає нормального зв'язку. Російський бюджет з пробоїнами. Треба тиснути далі і вивести Росію на дипломатичний трек.
He stated that he expects strong decisions from the EU regarding their future membership.
Дуже очікуємо сильні політичні рішення Європейського Союзу, які можуть і мають бути ухвалені вже влітку. Україна зробила все необхідне для відкриття всіх кластерів у перемовинах щодо нашого майбутнього членства. І саме зараз на найближчих зустрічах ЄС мають бути рішення щодо цього.
Zelensky accused Russia of trying to create divisions within the European Union, saying stray drones are often the result of electronic warfare interference and not deliberate actions by Ukraine. He added that Kyiv is ready to share its expertise with European partners to counter such threats and improve regional security.
Ми розуміємо, що робить Росія. Вона хоче ескалювати відносини всередині Європейського Союзу. Наприклад, коли йде наша відповідь на ті чи інші російські удари, і якщо в небі країн Латвії, Литви, Естонії з'являється російський дрон, зрозуміло для чого. І коли з'являється український дрон, ми розуміємо, що вони можуть змінювати курс наших дронів. Це не масово. Поодинокі такі випадки були завдяки системам радіоелектронної боротьби. Що для цього потрібно? Для цього потрібно... Ми почали працювати. Ми маємо вже досвід такої роботи з країнами Близького Сходу. Ми відправили свої експертні групи, вони навчили, показали, що робити. І це достатньо швидкі і сильні рішення. Ми зробили це в Близькому Сході і це спрацювало. Зараз ми готові зробити те саме з нашими близькими партнерами в Європі.
As of now, 11 drone strikes on Kharkiv have been confirmed, with 2 drones crashing without detonating. Zelensky and Estonian president agreed to work on cheaper ways to shoot down drones that have flown over Estonia. Zelensky said Ukraine is ready to share its drone defense expertise with European allies and can deploy expert teams at any time. Estonia, a key backer of Ukraine, said drone incidents may continue as the war drags on.
All right, viewers, now as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to become India's longest-serving continuously elected Prime Minister, he has received congratulatory messages from union ministers, political leaders, global dignitaries and prominent personalities from various fields. Now today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will complete 4,399 consecutive days in office, surpassing former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's record of 4,398 consecutive days served after the first general elections. Listen in to Republic's senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor as he explains the significance.
12 years of Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister of India. 12 years as Pradhan Sevak of the country, as he might want to call himself. Now that's also about him surpassing a benchmark that happens today. At 4,399 days, Narendra Modi beats Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, as continuously elected PM in office. Now Nehru, of course, remains India's longest serving Prime Minister at 16 years and 286 days, or 6130 days, a landmark that Prime Minister Modi would reach only in 2032. But remember, of those 16 years and 286 days, Nehru was a selected Prime Minister for the first 5 years from 1947 to 1952, because the first general elections in the country were held in 1952 and Nehru took over from then on as the elected Prime Minister. Now we know that famous contest in which on the eve of independence, when the leader of the Congress had to be decided, 12 of the 15 state committees had chosen Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel as their leader. and so he would have naturally become the Prime Minister. But Mahatma Gandhi intervened. He had a certain predisposition, predilection and a bias for Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and so he was chosen as the leader after Sardar Patel withdrew, deferring to Mahatma Gandhi. And so the crown went to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and he became the first Prime Minister of the country, and since then onwards he was effectively uncontested leader of the country. That Congress, of course, was less a political party, more a freedom platform, and so all ideologies from Shyama Prasad Mukherjee to K.M. Munshi to even those on the left, Nehru himself being a socialist, a Fabian socialist, found space and accommodation. Subsequently, of course, things changed, but the comparison ends there. In many ways, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a dynast. His father Motilal Nehru had been leader of the Congress party, and he was born with a silver spoon, unlike Narendra Modi, who was born in poverty in a poor family in Gujarat, and his rise to power was contested at every stage. He had to contest to find his space and to create a space for himself in the power politics of the country. He chose RSS as its vehicle, not for power politics, but for an ideology, and then subsequently the BJP. Now, Mahatma Gandhi it was not the first time Mahatma Gandhi, by the way, intervened between Sardar Patel and Nehru for the leadership contest. He had previously and equally famously intervened between Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Pattabhi Sita Ramaiah, but that's part of history. Now, Modi's rise, as I said, was contested at each stage. Now look at his days in BJP. Sometime in mid-90s, when the BJP was in power in Gujarat, there was a Shankar Singh Waghela rebellion against Keshubhai Patel as the chief minister. But in reality, the rebellion was against Narendra Modi, who, as advisor to Keshubhai Patel, wielded a lot of influence and power over government, and Shankar Singh Waghela and many around him did not like. There were other issues also, but that was the first big rebellion that Narendra Modi faced in politics. Subsequently, the big tempest of 2002 in Gujarat, the communal riots, the violence, he weathered it with some patience. And remember the fact that 2004 onwards, there was Congress-led UPA in power. And between 2007 and 2012, Gujarat faced another round of political rebellion against Narendra Modi, the then chief minister, led by Keshubhai Patel at that time. And with Congress in power, with all the investigations going on and the court cases going on, not just of the riots but also of the encounters, those were very difficult times, and Narendra Modi still weathered them, rose through those headwinds, and by 2012 the Supreme Court of India gave him a clean sheet in all the riot cases and many of the encounter cases. But his struggle still did not end. 2012 to 2014 is the period when the Advani-led BJP at the center had a lot of resistance against Modi's climb to national leadership or natural claim to national leadership. But Narendra Modi negotiated with some deft handling coming in from his friends like Arun Jaitley in Delhi, and ultimately, against all tides, he became the Prime Minister of India in 2014. Now, how have those 12 years been since 2014? That's a period in which Narendra Modi has defined and redefined the political landscape of the country from a Nehruvian India in some ways or the other till 2014 to now, where we can actually say that much of Nehru's legacy has been jettisoned, from our foreign policy to our national security doctrine, which is much more muscular in terms of foreign policy, more India-centric in terms of security policy, much more focused on being a hard state and projecting hard power, as we have seen from the surgical strikes to Operation Sindoor recently. And that's not all. If you look at other things, for example, Prime Minister Modi is impulsively of the belief that India should work on wealth creation in a manner that the overall pie available for the rest of the population grows, which is facilitating capital, and at the same time distribution and redistribution of that wealth in a manner that some people actually call it more socialist government than even Nehru's, though of course it's not the case, because he's equally focusing on wealth creation to facilitating capital, which was not the case in Nehruvian India. And then we have seen parallel scripting of a certain other narrative, which is decolonization of India's mind and India's landmarks. If you look at, for example, from small legacies like reimagining and Lutyens Delhi, from new parliament to the entire new government architecture along the Kartavya Path itself renaming of the Rajpath. Now that's a very small nuance, but that carries a lot of insights into how Modi's mind works. The erstwhile Rajpath was just a renaming of Kingsway of the British times. So Indianization was not there. Now it is there. And it's not just about changing names, it is about decolonizing the mindset. So Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's statue at India Gate, to removing the Lutyens bust at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, to renaming of the islands in the Andaman Islands, including Ross Island, in the name of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose again. There is an ideological underpinning, for example, in renaming Aurangzeb Road as APJ Abdul Kalam Road, or finding a road and naming it in the name of Dara Shikoh, the moderate, liberal, younger brother of Aurangzeb, elder brother of Aurangzeb. And then the three big ones: abrogation of Article 370, building of the Ram temple at Ayodhya, of course, after the Supreme Court judgment, which has had its own trajectory, not necessarily because Modi was in power, but then he completed the task. And then, of course, the triple talaq law, pending a full uniform civil code, which is a work in progress, and in many states it has already been brought in. Taken together, these three projects completed under Narendra Modi as Prime Minister are in many ways the antithesis of what Nehru stood for, or what Nehru's India stood for. So in that sense, this landmark also is in many ways a juxtaposition of Modi's India versus Nehru's India. And while speaking of surpassing of Nehru's record, PM Modi perhaps envisioned in its totality. So for example, the Teen Murti Museum, which was dedicated just for Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, not just renaming it, redoing it in the form of Prime Minister's Museum, now dedicated to all Prime Ministers of India since independence. And second one, final one, the Statue of Unity at Kevadia Colony at the Sardar Sarovar Dam in Gujarat is in many ways a rehabilitation of Sardar Patel, who had been sidelined under the Nehru-Gandhi dispensation. The Gandhi, of course, Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, to give rightful place to Sardar Patel, which was perhaps denied to him by none other than fellow Gujarati Mahatma Gandhi. And in that sense, those 12 years have been reimagining India, and the journey continues. Narendra Modi remains Prime Minister, today completing 4,399 days in office, and thus breaking Nehru's record as continuously elected Prime Minister for 12 years.
All right, it's time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere because we have a lot more lined up coming up after the break. 14 Kuki hostages held captive since May 13 for 27 days, formally released in a peaceful manner.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है? आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट? स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा,
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाए जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MTH थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरी राजा।
I want to start with some very disturbing pictures that have come in of a so-called right-wing leader. His name is Sushil Prajapati. He's accused of rape. After being in jail for 9 months, he gets bail, which means he's still an accused. He's an accused in a rape case. And the case goes back to 2025 when he took an LLB student to one place on the pretext of introducing her to a senior advocate. He drugged her drink and then he sexually assaulted her. He is still under trial for rape. He has not been released. But when he comes out, this rape accused, garlands are put on him as if he's some kind of a hero, as if he's achieved something great. Is a rapist to be celebrated, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you that question. And more than anyone else, I ask the right wing of this country. Very often I come on television and I say, yes, on several issues, I'm happy to be called a right-winger. But ladies and gentlemen, let me put it clearly. You cannot let a person like this man, this Sushil Prajapati, a leader of the Hindu Yuva Vahini, a local thug, a man accused of rape, you cannot celebrate his act of rape or celebrate the fact that the rapist is out on bail. If that is the message we want to send to our society, and if all the BJP leaders want to be quiet about it, I want to ask them, why are they quiet about this? Why are they quiet? In the silence...
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरी राजा।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है, अरे मेरी राजा।
In fact, very often I believe the only way to get justice in India is a media trial. So there's no reason for the media, if it's doing a good job of a media trial, to be on the back foot. In fact, the courts should stop making these overarching remarks about media trial and contemplate about one very basic thing. With the greatest of respect to the courts, when the other institutions fail, when people get let down by the system, when even the judiciary does not seem to be listening or raising a noise about issues, like in the case of Twisha Sharma. Who does the public look to for justice, for raising their voice, for bringing something that's utterly false, illegal or wrong to public attention? It is only and only the media. And today, therefore, we are doing a media trial in this specific case, ladies and gentlemen, of Twisha Sharma, the 33-year-old daughter-in-law of an ex-judge, in a case where the ex-judge and the ex-judge's advocate's son appear to be more than involved. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 questions tonight. And if they think it's a media trial, so be it. So be it. Why did the ex-judge in the case of Twisha Sharma, neither she nor her son call a police or an ambulance? What took them 57 minutes to bring the body down? Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and a very good morning. My name is Nayan and I'm joined by my colleague.
I'm Shivangi Shukla, getting you the latest coming in. And Nayan, we have a lot lined up for our viewers. Fresh escalation has been reported. Now we understand that Iran has stricken US Navy's 5th fleet after attacks over the Apache chopper downing. So what we see are strikes and counter-strikes between the US and Iran. So the escalation has gone one notch up, Nayan.
Absolutely, and we're going to give you all of those updates. But first up, the headlines. PM Modi to create history, set to become India's longest continuous serving Prime Minister. He's set to complete 12 years.
PM Modi to chair meeting with CMs, deputy CMs in NDA states and union territories on June 11th.
14 Kuki hostages held captive since the 13th of May for 27 days, formally released in a peaceful manner.
Congress candidate Meenakshi Natarajan's nomination rejected by the Rajya Sabha. For the Rajya Sabha, polls and party delegation will be meeting the Election Commission of India.
Over 50 dead and 200 injured as security forces opened fire on protesters in POK.
Trump vows a retaliation for downing of US helicopter. Now we understand that the US has launched fresh quote-unquote defensive strikes on Iran.
At least 7 US strikes reported in multiple cities in southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas and Minab.
Okay, so a fresh escalation has begun, and now Iran's Revolutionary Guard said that they launched a drone attack on the US Navy's 5th fleet in Bahrain at 2:30 a.m. Wednesday local time. This comes after we understand that the Central Command in the US has confirmed that it began self-defense strikes on Iran on Tuesday.
Now, at least 7 of the US strikes have been reportedly targeted, and these have come on strategically important places like energy supplies of Bandar Abbas, Minab, the Kesham Islands, and these are important energy centers in the southern of Iran. What we understand that the strikes took place in Bahrain at around 2:30 a.m. local time, and now the IRGC has said that it has, in retaliation, launched a drone attack on the US Navy's 5th fleet in Bahrain.
That's right. Okay, so the US military has launched strikes against Iran in response to the Iranian forces downing a US Apache helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. And we see that President Trump is seeking a deal to end the war. So this is very, very concerning because President Trump had said that there will be a peace deal. However, there are escalations between US and Iran themselves today. So we will get our viewers all these updates coming in on Republic TV. But the latest is that US forces have been launching rounds and rounds of strikes in Iran with air defense systems and radars among the targets. This is a developing story, by the way, Nayan, but Iran has vowed and response.
Absolutely. In fact, the IRGC has launched a drone attack against the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, and IRGC is not stopping there. It has warned that further military measures could follow if the Americans and their operations continue. In fact, the Iranian officials have confirmed that damage at several locations in southern Iran, including Sirik, the Keshem Island, have witnessed these attacks, and Iran is, of course, strongly condemning the attacks and quickly announcing retaliatory action. On your television screen, reports from across Iran where explosions are witnessed, and now sirens across Bahrain can be heard across Bahrain.
Right, okay, so we're getting these updates coming in, viewers. Let's tell you that the US has launched strikes on Iran after President Trump accused the country of shooting down a US helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz. I want to go across to my colleague who's joining us from a Republic newsroom. Let's go straight across to Shivam, who's joining us. Shivam, okay, so what is happening is that President Trump has said there would be a peace deal with Iran very soon, but now we understand that US itself has gone ahead and launched rounds and rounds of strikes against Iran, escalating the situation. Shiva.
Yeah, the situation has pretty much escalated, as you can see, because yesterday, as you saw, there was a big development where an Apache was shot down, or it fell down, as they earlier said, and then it was confirmed that it was shot down. And Donald Trump confirmed the fact that it was shot down, and he had the intelligence, he got the reports from his military that it was shot down by the IRGC. But that means the Iranian army, the Iranian military in this case, and that means, and he clearly said that we need and we must respond to that, and we have to respond to that, and there were responses to that. Now, the kind of responses that you have, and CENTCOM has said that we have responded, and these are proportional. These are proportional to the strikes that have been the aggression that has been given, that has been done by Iran in this case. Now, coming to the point, the kind of strikes which they called it self-defense strikes. However, the Iranian media has confirmed that they have received the input of 7 strikes at 7 locations, now which includes the Keshem, the Minab, the Sirik, and at various other locations. Now, as we speak right now, various US air bases are getting hit right now, or are becoming a target of the IRGC. So again, Shivangi, and then we are back to square one. We should understand the fact that there were efforts for de-escalation by Donald Trump, because there was escalation after Iran attacked Israel in response to the Israeli attacks in Lebanon against the Hezbollah. Now the escalation has gone further. Now air sirens are being heard in Bahrain, in Kuwait, and we are getting reports. We are waiting for the confirmation on most of that. But our sources tell that the entire Middle East region is right now active as we speak because of the engagements that we see. Air sirens are being heard. Explosions are being heard as we speak right now, ladies and gentlemen. And this is escalating to a level which should not have been. There are already tensions across the globe. The prices of oil are rising as a response to the West Asian conflict, and you can clearly understand that various air bases are being hit right now, and they are becoming target, and air sirens are being heard over Bahrain, over Kuwait, and at various places. Shivangi.
Right, thank you, Shivam. Stay with us in the newsroom. Shivam, we have more breaking news that's coming in right now. According to Iranian media, an American MQ-9 Reaper drone has reportedly been shot down over jam in southern Iran's Bushehr province. Now, this has come after the US has confirmed launching at least 7 strikes across cities in the southern Iran and on islands along the Strait of Hormuz. Now, we understand the Strait of Hormuz is a strategically important energy center. Meanwhile, the latest developments of the US Central Command says that they have completed a defense strike on Iran. However, they are postured in the region to defend again any future Iranian aggression. Now, Iran, on the other hand, has confirmed that the IRGC has launched drone strikes on the US Navy's 5th Fleet base in Iran.
That's right. So, big updates coming in here, viewers. MQ-9 Reaper drone shot down in Bushehr. it's very important to know, viewers, right now that, and I want to go back to maybe in a short while to our colleague Shivam, who will also be joining us from a newsroom. It's very important to know that Iran is signaling it is willing to directly target American military infrastructure in the Gulf. That's also very concerning, Shivam. So what we see is that IRGC has launched a drone strike on the US Navy's 5th Fleet in Bahrain, the base in Bahrain, which means Iran is directly targeting the US bases in the Gulf region. And that is very concerning because earlier we saw Iran's proxies target the US bases in the Gulf region.
Yeah, you understand the fact that there have been US fleet movements and even their aircraft carriers, two of them around the Middle East for the West Asian conflict, but there were maneuvers when there was even threat to their aircraft carriers. Now, IRGC has many a times claimed that they have hit their 5th Fleet or other fleets, and they even went on to claim that there was fire in their aircraft carrier. Now, but these are developments, and you cannot deny the fact that Iran does possess the capability, the firepower to wreak havoc when it comes to the US military, because Strait of Hormuz is not very close to Washington, so that they can easily manage with all their military might and the naval might. They're very far, and that's the point. And Iran is very close to the war zone, to the battle zone, and it's their conflict. They have the drones, they have the kamikaze boats, as you can say, the suicidal boats, and it's very cheap for Iranian regime. It's very cheap for them to fight this war and continue this war. Now, the US 5th Fleet, Shivangi, it's the main naval force of the United States in the Middle East. It's headquartered at Bahrain, and you must understand the fact that there have been also developments in Bahrain. There have been sirens over Bahrain also, and the Ministry of Bahrain has also have also given advisory to its citizens that sirens have been heard and the explosions have been heard. So
hold on for a second there. Yes. Shivam, hold on for a second. We're getting some more breaking news coming in for our viewers. This is a developing story, by the way, viewers. Iran's Revolutionary Guard launches missile attack on US base in Jordan, and the news agency has reported this. A huge update. Nayan, like we were talking about earlier, this time Iran is directly targeting these US bases in the Gulf region. This is very, very important to understand because we have seen and that this has not played out well. In the past, we have seen this raises questions about the risk of a broader US-Iran war. Things getting worse than they already are.
Absolutely. In fact, Tehran says these are the retaliatory attacks after the US has striked in self-defense. But what we're getting right now, there's a missile attack that has been taken place on the US base in Jordan. And now, definitely, there is an escalation that we're seeing by the hour, Shivangi. All of this started late Wednesday night. And as we can see, it's only getting into a spiral.
That's right. Let's go straight across to the next set of breaking news coming in for our viewers. Iran, this is the reports, by the way, Iran is going ahead and continues to strike. But Kuwait is intercepting missiles in the airspace. Now, we will get our viewers all these updates coming in on Republic TV because we understand that the Gulf regions have their own deterrence systems and those have become very, very active. So Kuwait going ahead and intercepting missiles in its airspace. Let's go to you, Nayan, and we'll also go to Shivam in a short while from now. Yes, Nayan, go ahead. Let's go to Shivam, Nayan, and ask him what the latest is and why this is a very significant development.
Yeah, because this is the retaliatory strike by now Iran, as you can see, because after the US strikes, now Iran has started retaliating. And yes, multiple reports of Kuwait activating their air defense and interceptions of incoming missiles and drones have been reported after the latest US strikes on the Iranian targets. So this is clearly a response after the US targets, because Iran is not going to back down. It's not going to stay there and just not respond and not escalate the entire situation, because they have started this and they blame the US for all the aggression. And after the Apache helicopter was shot down, there was a US response, and now IRGC will keep on responding. But we'll have to wait for what Donald Trump has to say. We're waiting for his response also. But this is the the latest that we are getting about from Kuwait, where Kuwait has activated its air defense systems. Now, there are bases in various parts of the Middle East when we speak about United States military. So in protection of that, because the IRGC claims that all the bases in the entire Middle East which are of US are legitimate military targets for the IRGC. So as a response, the IRGC, because it's close, it's very, the proximity is there, so it has again started attacking. So we are back to square one. We are again back to the similar war scenario that we used to see. There will be air sirens across the Middle East. Now, this has just started. There are reports from Jordan, there are reports from Bahrain, there are reports from Kuwait that we are getting right now. And Kuwait has reportedly intercepted hostile missiles and drones right now in its airspace. Bahrain has also activated air raid.
Hold on for a second there. We're getting some more breaking news coming in now, and what is it about?
Right, sirens are now being sounded across Bahrain amidst the strikes, and these sirens are blaring after the US fleet in Bahrain was hit by Iran. Now, Bahrain sounds its missile alert sirens as Iran has said it targeted the island nation to retaliate the US strikes. On your television screen is a big breaking news that we're getting. Ladies and gentlemen, Bahrain sounds its missile alert sirens as Iran said it targeted island nations to retaliate for the US strikes.
Yes, the sirens blaring after US fleet in Bahrain was hit by Iran. Okay, let's go straight back to my colleague who's joining us. Shiva, I'm coming across to you right now. Of course, we see that security measures have been heightened all across the Gulf region. What's the latest that we are breaking? Because we understand that even Iran has responded and Iran has made it very clear, despite its defeats on the battlefield, the US opted to test our determination. This is what Iranian foreign minister has just written on social media.
Yeah, because Iran has clearly warned against any future strikes and against any aggression. That's what we are getting. And Saeed Abbas Arakchi also said that you must leave this place immediately if you want to stay safe. So that's the kind of response that we are getting from the Iranian regime. But coming back to the story, what we are getting right now, Bahrain sirens are being heard in Bahrain. We'll also have another development on Bahrain. We'll break the breaking news in a short while. But right now, sirens have been sounded in Bahrain. An advisory has been given by the Ministry of Bahrain, the Interior Ministry of Bahrain, to its citizens that you must stay inside, that you must not venture outside, and stay ready. We are giving you live updates on what we are getting. The alarm siren has been activated. Let me read exactly what the Ministry of Interior Bahrain has to say. They say the alarm siren has been activated. We urge citizens and residents to remain calm, head to the nearest safe location, and follow updates through official channels. So this is Ministry of Bahrain Interior official response and official tweet. And they're saying the siren has been sounded. Citizens and residents are urged to remain calm and head to the nearest safe place. So they have made two posts when it comes to their official social media platform X account. So they are warned, and also because there are imminent threat. There's imminent threat to Bahrain also. Because if you have a base in your country that's of US, you might risk yourself for a IRGC
We're getting
strike.
another big breaking news. Please stay with us. Right now, there is a big breaking news that's coming that missiles have been targeted at the F-35 hangars at the air base in Jordan. Now, there's a big claim that the Iranians say that the US F-35 hangars are hit in Jordan, and the US airbase is hit in Jordan. And this is what the IRGC has said, that it has targeted 4 sites of the US Al-Azraq base in Jordan using long-range missiles. And the IRGC also says that the target also included F-35 fighter jet hangars and command and control centers. And it has warned that it is ready to deliver a crushing and decisive response if United States attacks any further. Clearly, a big confrontation is in process. Both the sides are absolutely in a retaliatory mode right now.
That's right. I want to go back to Shivam, who's joining us. Shivam, we'll try to put out some more official reactions which have come in from the US Central Command and from Iran. But I'll just read out what the US Central Command has said. It said the mission of US is proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. This is what the US Central Command has said. Right. Coming in the backdrop of US airbase being hit in Jordan, this is what the Iranian army is claiming. That means we can expect US to perhaps go ahead and continue even more retaliatory strikes.
Yeah, these are retaliatory strikes, and then they say that this is self-defense strikes. So you can understand the language, Shivangi. Donald Trump did not want it to escalate, but fate had it otherwise, as you can see. Now, this is the latest that we are getting, and the update is the F-35 hangars in Jordan were hit, and this is by the IRGC. Iran says that its long-range... Yeah, this is F-35 hangars were hit in Jordan, and this comes from Iranian Revolutionary Guard, IRGC. This is Muvafaq Salti Azraq Air Base in Jordan that we are getting, including the F-35 fighter jet hangars and a command and control center. So there are various claims and counterclaims that we are getting, and F-35. Once again, one setback after the other for the US military, for the US Navy, for the US Air Force. You remember MQ-9 Reaper, state-of-the-art, modern, sophisticated drone. IRGC claims it has been hit. Apache helicopter, state-of-the-art, sophisticated attack helicopter, one of the best in the world, has been shot down by the IRGC. This Donald Trump has confirmed. Now, their defense stocks have taken a rock-bottom hit. They have taken a big hit earlier also, and now clearly establishes that the war, economics of war has completely changed, and Iran proves it that it can fight a prolonged war, and it's not afraid of the sophisticated weaponry that is in possession of the US military. F-35 being hit and their air defenses being unable to intercept. Now, I have been time and again repeating the very fact and reiterating the very fact that the US military, the Israeli Defense Forces are out of interceptors, and also their interceptors are quite expensive to fire and to attack the cheap Shahed drones that are being fired by the IRGC, or the cheap missiles that are being fired by the Iranian regime in this case. So you clearly understand the war economics is not in favor of the US military, is not in the favor of the IDF, it's not in favor of the Israel, it is in the favor of the Iranian regime, and Iranian regime, even after taking multiple blows and various setbacks, is on the war, and it can continue the war for a very long time. They have huge stockpiles even till now that they can use, because their weaponry is underground. You must understand the fact their drones, their jets, their missiles, most of it is underground, and you have no intel. You can't bombard with your sophisticated fighter jets, Shivangi.
Shivam, hold on for a second. We understand that multiple explosions are being reported as well on Qasem Island as strikes shake southern Iran. Viewers, US strikes have hit islands in Strait of Hormuz. So let's go back to my colleague Nayan as well. Nayan, now what we understand, and we'll go to Shivam also in a short while from now, is that the US is targeting Iranian areas. Multiple blasts reported in Qasem Island, and we see that the US had earlier said that they will be responding proportional to Iranian aggression. Iran says that it is the US which is being aggressive.
Absolutely. In fact, now all of this aggression is taking new turns, with multiple blasts now being reported in Qasem Island, which is in the southern of Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, to tell you that the Qasem Island is one of the most important energy centers of Iran, and now the US has targeted these Iranian islands along with the Strait of Hormuz, and now blasts have been reported, not one, not two, but multiple of these blasts in the Qasem Island. In fact, Iranian islands in the Hormuz have hit in the US strike, as what we understand.
All right, let's go straight across to my colleague who's joining us. Shivam is joining us. Multiple blasts reported in Qasem Island, and Iranian islands in Hormuz have been hit in the US strike. Strait of Hormuz, of course, becoming very sensitive once again, Shiva.
Yeah, definitely become very active, and again we are saying the very fact that Iran knows that it has the upper hand in this case, and it knows that if it can continue its strikes, and also if Donald Trump makes a mistake, because Qasem Island also, that what we are getting, the Qasem Island was also struck in this. The energy facilities are very close in that location also. Minab was hit again, and Sirik was hit again when we talk about in the Strait of Hormuz during this escalation. Now, the various bases are being hit right now as we speak. Now, this becomes a big threat for the US military right now. And the multiple blasts have been reported in Qasem Island, which is very serious. And this is US military does this as a warning, more of a warning to Iran, that if you extend this war, or if you prolong this war, or you escalate this further, we might hit your energy resources. Now, you must understand that some hits, if they are done in the Qasem island, there will be the point of, it will move on to the point of no return, because if you hit energy resources, there Iran will also respond, and the entire Middle East becomes a war zone, and there will be repercussions for the entire Middle Eastern countries. So that is being avoided by the US military also, Shivangi.
That's right. Okay, Shivam, hold on with us for a moment there. And Nayan, we have to take a short break right now. This is a developing story, by the way, viewers. So we will be getting our viewers all the top updates. What is coming up next now, Nayan, on Live This Morning?
Right, we'll tell you what's coming up next. But right now it's time to slip into a short break. Coming up, at least 7 US strikes reported in multiple cities in southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas and Minab.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट?
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
जब तक लाजवाब न बन जाए उसे नहीं इत्मीनान है, तभी तो रिचमैन बनना नहीं आसान है।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
I want to start with some very disturbing pictures that have come in of a so-called right-wing leader. His name is Sushil Prajapati. He is accused of rape. After being in jail for 9 months, he gets bail, which means he's still an accused. He's an accused in a rape case. And the case goes back to 2025 when he took an LLB student to one place on the pretext of introducing her to a senior advocate. He drugged her drink and then he sexually assaulted her. He is still under trial for rape. He has not been released. But when he comes out, this rape accused, garlands are put on him as if he's some kind of a hero, as if he's achieved something great. Is a rapist to be celebrated, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you that question. And more than anyone else, I ask the right wing of this country. Very often I come on television and I say, yes, on several issues, I'm happy to be called a right-winger. But ladies and gentlemen, let me put it clearly. You cannot let a person like this man, this Sushil Prajapati,
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
रानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
In fact, very often I believe the only way to get justice in India is a media trial. So there's no reason for the media, if it's doing a good job of a media trial, to be on the back foot. In fact, the courts should stop making these overarching remarks about media trial and contemplate about one very basic thing. With the greatest of respect to the courts, when the other institutions fail, when people get let down by the system, when even the judiciary does not seem to be listening or raising a noise about issues, like in the case of Twisha Sharma, who does the public look to for justice, for raising their voice, for bringing something that's utterly false illegal or wrong to public attention, it is only and only the media. And today, therefore, we are doing a media trial in this specific case, ladies and gentlemen, of Twisha Sharma, the 33-year-old daughter-in-law of an ex-judge in a case where the ex-judge and the ex-judge's advocate's son appear to be more than involved. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 questions tonight. And if they think it's a media trial, so be it. So be it. Why did the ex-judge in the case of Twisha Sharma, neither she nor her son call a police or an ambulance? What took them 57 minutes to bring the body down? Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's medical examination was not conducted? The police station is right behind the ex-judge's Giribala's house. Why was no call made? Why did it take 5 days to file an FIR in the case? Who stalled it? Why was the victim's family attacked in court if there's nothing to hide? And did a very senior police officer go to AIIMS that night to try and fudge the post-mortem report? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking these questions. Now I ask you, am I right or wrong in asking these questions? And if I don't, who will? Will the government of Madhya Pradesh raise these questions? The Chief Minister doesn't have 30 seconds to meet the victim's family. Will the higher courts of the country raise these questions? So far, I have not seen this case being picked up by the appellate courts, though we are screaming and shouting about it. So I say tonight, what happens when other institutions fail? And if we do a media trial, should we be celebrated and supported for doing so? Was Aravali a media trial? Yes, it was. It was. Thank God for that. Thank God for that media trial which stopped the Aravalis from being destroyed. Was the Pune Porsche case a media trial where innocents were killed by a rich brat and the whole system colluded to give the rich brat a free run? Was it a media trial? I confess it was. Thank God for it. Thank God for that media trial.
Hello and a very good morning. My name is Nayan. I'm joined by my colleague Shivangi here. We're watching live this morning, but you know, the whole escalation of the West Asia war, Shivangi, started with Iran hitting the US Apache helicopters, and now one after another there are retaliatory strikes that have been seen between Iran and the United States, and now the focus goes back to the West Asia conflict.
That is right. And what about the peace deal that Donald Trump said would be signed very soon? What about the ceasefire, which is basically hanging by a thread? Right. Nayan, we will get our viewers all those updates, and we also have a defense expert who will join us live to help us understand what exactly is happening in West Asia. But the headlines first. Let's get started.
PM Modi creates history, becomes India's longest continuously serving PM. 12 years of PM Modi government complete.
PM Modi to chair meetings with CMs, deputy CMs of NDA states and union territories on June 11th.
14 Kuki hostages held captive since the 13th of May for 27 days, formally to be released in a peaceful manner.
Congress candidate Meenakshi Natarajan's nomination rejected for Rajya Sabha polls. Party delegation to meet Election Commission of India.
Over 50 dead, 200 injured as security forces open fire on protesters in POK.
Trump vowed retaliation for downing of US helicopters. Central Command launches fresh quote-unquote defensive strikes on Iran.
At least 7 US strikes reported in multiple cities in southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas, Minab.
And viewers, let's go ahead and tell you exactly what's happening. Iranian Foreign Minister has now put a social media post on X and says, and I quote here, despite its defeats on the battlefield, the US opted to test our determination. Our powerful armed forces will leave no attack or threat unanswered. And he says, Nayan, leave our region if you want to be safe.
That's right. History of the Persian Gulf has many chapters, he said, on the dire fates of intruding outsiders. He's calling United States as an intruding outsider on his social media post on X and is repeatedly urging the United States to remember the history of the Persian Gulf as it has had many chapters of dire fate of the intruding outsiders. All right, Shivangi, we have our guest joining in very soon. But it's interesting, you know, these statements are actually military escalations, and it depends on the subsequent actions of both sides. And, you know, they're not rhetoric themselves at present. You know, these remarks should be understood primarily as a warning and a declaration of intent rather than description of a planned operation.
That's right. Okay, so the US strikes are over, by the way. The US military said it has completed the strikes against Iran, and what it said was a retaliation of the downing of an Army Apache helicopter. And Tehran has responded, like we told our viewers. The IRGC said it launched strikes against US targets in the region, including military sites in Bahrain and Jordan. Okay, let's go straight across to our guest who's joining us right now. We're being joined by Colonel Rajiv Bagga, defense expert, joining us live. And thank you for joining us live here on Republic TV. We are live this morning. Colonel, now what exactly is going on? Because Donald Trump said that the peace deal is very, very near. What happened to the peace deal? Why is US escalating when it comes to Iran, when they said that the peace deal is not too far away?
Good morning to you. Am I audible to you now? Audible? Okay. Well, you know that in the past, whatever this war has taken a shape, it is certainly has given us that US, they violated international law, and by striking and carrying out strikes on our schools, and thereafter they sent their fighters also, which were brought down by Iranian.
Right. Colonel Bagga, I think we'll fix that audio for you. Let's fix that audio for our guest. But Nayan, I think we're getting a lot of breaking news coming in. I think we have Colonel Bagga back with us. Colonel Bagga, firstly, can you hear us?
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Absolutely. You can go ahead.
All right. You know, like I personally feel that US, despite of carrying out diplomatic talks or creating a platform, the world is certainly waiting what exactly is going to come out. But still, if you say that why the helicopter was brought down, we need to really take a note. In past also, US has not really given any kind of respect to international forum. There is certainly no requirement to violate somebody's sovereignty. Now it comes to what exclude Iran in a swift retaliation. The US Central Command says it is unleashed multi-wave airstrike targeting critical Iranian infrastructure. But
right. Okay. Okay, we will go ahead to our guest in a short while from now. But let's tell our viewers, Nayan, exactly what is happening. Explosions were also heard in Iran in 3 strategic locations around the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran's state-run broadcaster reported the strikes hit 2 water reservoirs, cutting the area's water supply. Now, we talk about the Apache downing. 2 U.S. officials and the helicopter were brought down by an Iranian drone. And so basically, all in all, Nayan, what we are seeing is there's a lot of escalation. Drones being shot down, then Iran going ahead and striking U.S. bases in the Gulf air defense systems being activated to stop the missiles. There's a lot going on here in the West Asia conflict.
That's right. You know, in fact, speaking from the US CENTCOM point of view, they describe this operation as a proportional response. And back again, we have Colonel Rajiv Bagga joining us. Colonel, if you can hear us, my question to you is, what practical military options does Iran actually have, you know, to enforce this threat, you know, when it says leave the region? That's what it's telling the United States. Leave the region, otherwise you're going to get into bigger trouble.
You see, Iranian, if you talk about the tactical position of Iranian, they are very strong. You know, like that configuration of the geographical configuration, terrain analysis they have carried out very well, very much in advance. I'll say they prepare for this war for past 2 decades, I will say. If you see the terrain aspect of Iranian, why US has not, in today's scenario, they're able to establish a foothold at, you can say, at the Strait of Hormuz. The reason is very simple, that the configuration of the Iranian geography is so complicated that the ships, if they enter in that region, will certainly suffer a heavy losses. If you talk about the aircraft, any aircraft from the US side coming, the air defense system and the bombers Iranians are having, there is no question that in this region.
Right.
So, what I'm trying to say, it is that they have done this adventure type of by escalating the war again. And when there was a chances of having any diplomatic, you know, like we can push the entire Gulf diplomatic platform so that the peace prevails. So at present, Iranians are absolutely on a very strong front.
Right. Yes. So, Colonel Bagga, you know, we are also trying to discuss here, when we talk about these strikes, according to you, who is the escalating party here? Who is the party which is escalating? Because US is saying that we gave Iran an appropriate response, and Iran is saying, leave our region if you want to be safe. They both look equally guilty, but according to you, who is escalating?
It is basically absolutely and very clear to the US. And no country will tolerate that there is some foreign body is there in the border. And certainly, the Iranians also conveyed a very clear-cut message to the world and into the other Gulf countries. Look, if we are accommodating the US, we will strike you. And US is also have created a blockade which is really giving a greater impact. You know that I will say that economy of the world is certainly shattering. If it comes to the war, US need to really take a check on it and need to really de-escalate the entire war. That is the only solution to the present crisis.
That's right. Well, Colonel Bagga, I really wanted to hold on for a second there. We're getting some more updates for our viewers. Let's move ahead. Nayan, what do we have next? We'll talk about what's happening in the Middle East.
Right. In fact, the Middle East remains on an edge as Israeli airstrikes pounded multiple locations across southern Lebanon, killing civilians and triggering fresh fears of escalation. Now, the strikes targeted areas in Nabateh and also Tyre, with Israel also issuing new evacuation warnings for residents across the southern port. Now, attacks come just hours after Israel and Iran exchanged fire for the first time after the ceasefire brokered 2 months ago. Here's a report.
Fresh Israeli airstrikes target multiple locations across southern Lebanon. Several areas in Nabateye hit as explosions rocked the region. At least 8 people were killed in airstrikes on neighborhoods in Tyre. Several others wounded as rescue teams rushed to affected areas. Massive plumes of smoke rising above buildings. Israel issues fresh evacuation orders for residents of Tyre. The warning also covers the city's Christian neighborhoods. Israel claims Hezbollah operatives may be operating from the area. The latest Israel-Hezbollah conflict has killed around 3,500 people. More than 1.2 million people have been forced from their homes. The strikes come hours after Israel and Iran exchanged fire following months of relative calm. Even as Iran later signaled a halt to offensive operations, fears of a wider regional escalation continue to grow.
Let's get some more breaking news coming in. Nayan, Iran has slammed the US and Israel in the Security Council, accusing the nations of double standards. A certain number of members at the behest of the United States repeated baseless allegations against Iran's peaceful nuclear program. This is what Iran is saying, parroting US and Israeli regimes' disinformation campaign, Nayan.
Now, Iran has accused the West of double standards. Iran blasts at US. And Israel at the UN Security Council claims, and while Tehran rejects its claims over the nuclear program. Now also, Iran says that the UNSC meeting lacks any legal basis.
That's right. Well, getting these back-to-back updates coming in on Republic TV. If we have a guest, then we can go back to our guest in a short while. And, okay, we have our guest with us.
Right.
We have Major General Rajan Kochar also joining us here, and Colonel Bagga also joining us. I want to welcome Major General Rajan Kochar now on this broadcast. Major General, we were discussing this earlier. We have already seen that Iran is blasting Israel and US over its nuclear program, because Iran looks at its nuclear program as something for energy enrichment, for its long-term future. But US and Israel think that they're trying to become a more powerful nuclear nation. And that is why we see the peace deal being stuck again and again.
Good morning. You see, this contention of Iran that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes cannot be accepted. The fact is that they have an enrichment of around 60% or so. When you're having a nuclear program for your energy or peaceful, your enrichment should not be more than 3 to 4%. So the very fact that 450 kg of enriched uranium to the extent of 60% is being held by Iran, it suggests that Iran was working towards a nuclear bomb, a nuclear warhead, and that was cause of concern. Secondly, the IAEA inspections also, which because if you know that Iran is a member of NPT, and IAEA inspections also were not being the accessibility was not being given in all the areas which the IAEA wanted, and there was a suspicion also by the IAEA that Iran was hiding its nuclear intentions. So, considering the fact that the enrichment uranium was of this nature, I think it was liable that the United States would get concerned. And therefore, the connivance of Pakistan also in this entire nuclear program cannot be wished away. I can, if you recollect a couple of years back, the A.Q. Khan, who was the instrumental in starting Pakistan's nuclear bomb, he made a statement that centrifuges were clandestinely moved from Pakistan to Iran, and because of this availability of centrifuges, the nuclear program of Iran got an acceleration. So Pakistan has been largely instrumental in bringing up this nuclear program of Iran. And coming to the present situation in the Security Council, what the Iran is trying to mention, I don't think these statements have a great merit. And I think the world at large is concerned that in case Iran has this nuclear capability, it will...
Major Kocha, I'll have to interrupt you there, Major Kocha. We're getting a big breaking news coming in. Please stay with us there. Now, Shivangi, it's got to be heard that F-35 hangars are destroyed in IRGC in a missile attack on the US airbase in Jordan. Now, as per the Iranian news reports, 4 important targets at the US airbase in Al-Arzaq, Jordan, were attacked by the IRGC.
That's right. I want to go back to our guest on this. Colonel Bagga perhaps can come in here. Colonel Bagga, the story is Iran is saying and targeting that they will continue going ahead and striking US bases in the Gulf region. That is what we are breaking right now, that Iran is targeting US bases in the Gulf region, which is very, very concerning because we saw Iran's proxies earlier target US bases in the Gulf region. Yes, Colonel.
Yes, if the Iranians has, as earlier I mentioned that 5 minutes back, that Iranians, they certainly gave a very strong message to the entire Gulf countries. Look, you need not to, accommodate US in any form. But they said that they are not against this. They definitely want a healthy relation with the other countries. But despite of that, they are still accommodating, and it is a kind of a direct threat to the Iranians. They need to understand that part. If Iranians are carrying out a strike on any military basis or air bases by their missiles or aircrafts or whatever, it is primarily for their self-defense. And what exactly the US and other Israel have done in that region is totally created a turbulence by creating some sort of a havoc. I will say that it is for Israelis. If I talk about Israel, I'll come back to your question. Israel, it is a historical moment for them to use this opportunity to snub the enemy, that is Hezbollah. But what US role has got in it? Why the US is so much insisting that we will have base here, we will control your oil and all that? This is probably the major reason. And Iranians were absolutely very clear. If any country or the US, in some form, directly, indirectly, they try to threaten the sovereignty, they will certainly take any action, and they are doing it. And that is absolutely not against any international law also.
Right. Colonel Bagga, I have a question for Major General Rajan Kochar. Now, Major Kochar, I want to understand what is the likely scenario that can be expected over the next 30 days. Will there be more retaliation? Will there be a standoff? Will there be diplomacy? How do you view this situation?
That's a very good question because, see, when we look at the situation, we must remember that there are 3 countries involved. And it's not US and Iran, because we keep on talking about US and Iran, and we have a little mention of Israel. The situation, as I see, which is unfolding is largely dependent on what is happening in Lebanon. Because Iran is not going to come to the table for talks with the United States unless and until the war in Lebanon ceases. And because we must remember that Hezbollah is a strong component of Iran. It's one of its proxies, and Iran has made it very, very clear that it will not come on the table until this war in Lebanon stops. Now what Israel is doing is Israel has gone very, very deep into Lebanon as of now. After capturing of Mount Blue Fort after a period of 26 years, the kind of offensive Israel has launched, I presume that Israel will take a couple of months to consolidate itself in Lebanon, and it's not going to stop its offensive in Lebanon. So next 30 days, I don't see any kind of stability coming into this region.
That's right.
I don't see any progress in talks, because talks can only progress if there is some kind of agreement between Israel, US and Iran. And thirdly, that this blockade or the naval blockade which is there in the Strait of Hormuz will continue. So this world is likely to see a very, very unstable situation in West Asia.
That's right. Thank you, Major General Rajan Kochhar. Thank you, Colonel Bagga, for joining us here on Republic TV. We are continuing our live coverage of the West Asia situation, which is continuing. The war is continuing, viewers. We'll get our viewers all those updates coming in. Nayan, what do we have coming up next? We'll continue our live coverage of the biggest global story right now.
That's right. In fact, after a short break, we'll tell you that there have been reportedly multiple attacks in the southern Iran, including attacks in Bandar Abbas and Minab, after a short break.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MTH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा
Dr. Roma, manual winding. 4 लोगों के पास है ये।
कुछ इससे भी अनोखा?
कमला पसंद, सिर्फ एक अनोखा स्वाद। कमला पसंद पान मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा
I want to start with some very disturbing pictures that have come in of a so-called right-wing leader. His name is Sushil Prajapati. He's accused of rape. After being in jail for 9 months, he gets bail, which means he's still an accused. He's an accused in a rape case. And the case goes back to 2025 when he took an LLB student to one place on the pretext of introducing her to a senior advocate. He drugged her drink and then he sexually assaulted her. He is still under trial for rape. He has not been released. But when he comes out, this rape accused, garlands are put on him as if he's some kind of a hero, as if he's achieved something great. Is a rapist to be celebrated, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you that question. And more than anyone else, I ask the right wing of this country. Very often I come on television and I say, yes, on several issues, I'm happy to be called a right-winger. But ladies and gentlemen, let me put it clearly. You cannot let a person like this man, this Sushil Prajapati, a leader of the Hindu Yuva Vahini, a local thug, a man accused of rape, you cannot celebrate his act of rape or celebrate the fact that the rapist is out on bail. If that is the message we want to send to our society, and if all the BJP leaders want to be quiet about it, I want to ask them, why are they quiet about this? Why are they quiet? In the silence of the BJP leaders, is there a tacit support to this person? Is there a feeling that anyone who wears or puts a, proclaims that he is from a so-called Hindu organization that he will be allowed to get away with absolutely everything, including an act of rape? Is there a feeling that this man, do right-wingers feel, this man, this accused rapist, is one of our own? So hence, regardless of what happens, one of our own should never be accused. It's like all those people, those radical Islamists who say that as long as the act of murder or crime of terrorism is carried out by a Muslim, it must be defended. This very thought, ladies and gentlemen, is completely unacceptable. And we need to make the point more strongly because it's not the first time this has happened. This happened in the case of Bilkis Bano. When in Gujarat, the rapists of Bilkis Bano came out, they were greeted with tikas.
से क्या है स्वाद बोलो शाहीर में
only just so that job of back the court stop remark about base when the other institutions fail, people led by the even not listening a issue in the case who public only and we are doing a media trial. This the third in law judge a judge it's appear the judge needs son police ambulance 50 to bring 3 men distance was the come back in a rope.
quarters
Welcome to public. This cause strike happens week which GC as strikes on mode, but yeah. Again, yeah, US attack after yes, Jordan to Iran strikes cases. Iran attack Iranian claim US drone. Three India's of PM. Modi meeting deputy of and is 11. UK. Development. There's a war right now. There's a war between United States and Apache by the Trump on strikes. And then after that, 35 that injured. Same 35 have injured. Here been and we are back and the on the count the of but getting difficult parties the escalation Apache copter was shot at uninjured and evacuated of this now will be as we speak happening the Strait of Hormuz in the of the as and there is and have been done. For a real break, let's go break now. 9 put now this you accept across I'll allow this I'll is US complete defense on the defense place posture should future say now on the eggs on base in it is again legitimate so we have a Shukla gas
conflict, but it's time to need to with not backing down. There was a chance of the down and that Iran that is down now. Trump
what is as for in hearing of time back you negotiating and people soldiers some in the from the keep or maybe something happening here best difficult so that give in the energy last month 60 and is coming from that one they better technology used to next to as their is and be a legit target is bombardment and peace fire. So understand on the situation as
develop footage of viewers footage because like footage show can down on the has this is 9 that possesses is a strike down. This is the US on your this I that's thing video reporting down Iraq exclusive is that and it's for military what we Iranian is the air defense that's what about when you happening right economic for not of the of budget or whatever you can so of Indian they are cheaper and again they can they have underground you can in dollars that add to us.
Definitely the of say much which is just and to cross in deep and the say one portion of the and definitely more be taken in month and some other the build of the is to maybe overall defense the no says telling where this is not
do you claim from make report getting and get the news get so but you can if you can be in
very much because on build are able attack them. So what are time out machine then the that can there's maybe they are not the
by and they are Colonel Shukla with lots of sounding cross in now this of and and then target talking about it has as the Middle East within the range of the IITs yeah big let's go across talking news and common parents after you fleet this is one of the game taking the no chop Iran that the of from few about Apache and now claim US from piloted by them. Let's have killed them. No, after a few times. This is talking about just the kill. They were from big Chinese army outbacks. His pilot escalation intensive. It's this big escalation that right that killed. This is because of the kept by Trump by the administration.
Yes, you are. This is from side. Post action presently is kept in some the time of the war is more than months. So mission own with the war permission from the parliament. So will it go alone? Pressure in at the state of where war and
Colonel. Yeah, these are either you in that don't want that lose. So part of the strategy of military was time that many claim that not casual. Pan yet have casual. So trust case.
Very down. Is going the side. It's you see just I believe all it is never mean.
Colonel, explain to you, because if we talk about the state of modern councils and liberation also, how to that technology been used by GC Rome or things or devices that can the missiles can be used technology might have to be.
Apache is most advanced counter warfare. Same.
Yeah, we'll can try to explaining clearly the state of technology that get it's to helicopter. So it means also advanced three years from one shot by that claim not result has been relation. This is the reason you see Iran that no that means spy be reviewed got up and the claim of is a because after that to 7 report back to the all right. We development and conflict bring you a minute of the but now into a break will be but up war again Asia US launch attack Apache shot. The war in Modi comes in
जम से है जो प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला जुबान से है बड़ा
I want to say very distinguished come in. So, Shil Prajapati used of for means used case back to 25 to on the text you see was and yes please any accused right wing of the country. Often television say yes on issues we call right wing. It is you can let a person like this Sushil leader of Hindu Yuva accused of you can of that the rapist is out of bail. That is we BJP is want to write about it. I want them why right. Why are right? In the sense leader is that where or he is from that will be with everything act do right wingers feel this accused one of so one of never it's like those radical law murder of terrorism by a very settlement is completely unacceptable. Because it's the first time it happened. This happened in the case one. They were greeting sweet. And it openly. This was an act of crime. So it is you who carried the act of rape. We will forgive. Ladies and gentlemen, we are no to forgive. And the last should be great. Full thing, another moment, people saying from and be smiling, carrying, say, oh, I can do another for ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, people of get my studio and told him Jai should be a because for all do career this movement black and their my point is to themselves right fingers sitting for supporting church rapists the same.
Universe global need to is benchmark quality.
Joseph.
तभी तो
the only way is a media, so there's no reason media is doing a good job of the courts taking marks media great courts and down judiciary listening basic issues. Who does public to justice for raising voice, for bringing some utterly false wrong to make attention don't media Today they are doing a trial. Ladies and gentlemen, of 33-year-old in a ex-judge's to why judge in the case of Sharma? She herself. It took them 57 minutes to bring the body down. Where are the 3 men who are seen in the video dragging Twisha's body, destroying evidence? What was the police doing? Did they question the house staff? Did they question the judge? Was Twisha carrying headphones in her bag, in her hand, or a rope? Where is it now? Where is that so-called belt that cops claim was used by her to commit suicide? Why was it hidden? The mother-in-law, the ex-judge, walks up calmly while the body is being dragged down and evidence is being destroyed before the judge's eyes. Is that normal? Why don't the judges raise a hue and cry about it? Why don't the appellate courts take up this case suo motu? So people don't start believing that when an ex-judge is concerned, the victim will never get justice. Ladies and gentlemen, what was the ex-judge carrying in her hand when she went down? Where is all the CCTV footage? Did the police collect it? Why did the ex-judge's son Samarth Singh escape after bringing the body of his wife to AIIMS? Is it true that the ex-judge's son's medical examination was not conducted? The police station is right behind the ex-judge's Giribala's house. Why was no call made? Why did it take 5 days to file an FIR in the case? Who stalled it? Why was the victim's family attacked in court if there's nothing to hide? And did a very senior police officer go to AIIMS that night to try and fudge the post-mortem report? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking these questions. Now I ask you, am I right or wrong in asking these questions? And if I don't, who will? Will the government of Madhya Pradesh raise these questions? The Chief Minister doesn't have 30 seconds to meet the victim's family. Will the higher courts of the country raise these questions? So
Hello and a very good morning. You're watching Live and Breaking. My name is Nayan. Now the US and Iran are again on fire. When I say that, I only mean that there has been retaliation while Iran first shot down a US Apache helicopter, which is supposed to be the best in the world, and now there is retaliatory attacks from Iran. We're going to give you and track all of those updates, but first up, the headlines. Major war again in West Asia. US launches attacks on Iran after Apache helicopter was shot down. Right now, the West Asia ceasefire has collapsed as Iran hits back. Sirens sounding across Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan after Iran strikes on US bases. Iran responds to US attacks. Iranian media claims US MQ-9 drone hit in the strike. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi is creating history. He becomes India's longest continuously serving Prime Minister. 12 years of PM Modi, government complete. PM Modi to chair meeting with CMs, deputy CMs of NDA, states and the Union territories on the 11th of June. Over 50 dead, 200 injured as security forces open fire on protesters in POK. Now, viewers, we told you in this morning that there was a big breaking news that a very, very sophisticated, top-of-the-line US military helicopter Apache was shot down by the Iranian military. Now, what we understand that now Iran has claimed that no one got alive out of the US chopper. In fact, contrary made a they were alive, but it casualty and his casualty drowning. Now, to understand that was on the defense, and while we understand the attack, what the line carry so and as Trump claimed these US pilots Iran come up statement that it on the that the US pilots killed go us on a telephone call. In fact, major part you in you and question is live from these choppers. How true is that? Trump allowed both so word
and even the pilot rescued, I think it in front of camera, some not or prove at the moment is the from the beginning and for first the direction of would ensure security of his the fate of the war should have is now only facing war of simultaneously that big America intact with Iran. First, his full focus on the matter from from Azerbaijan, so they are importing so it is border of Azerbaijan can unfold the entry for mobile more
please stay with us again next meeting in Trojans Kesham Island, which is strictly it is the view time has been multiple explosions have taken biggest you hit with multiple justification. I'll come back to I have to understand strategic impact of the island. And that's what I now regulatory attacks are back. I've been anyone from that.
Which is keep majority it has approximately one lakh people. The majority of the presence of the now what the kind of cases war which is in this I Iran is some responsible for example to the machine. It hit back. The intelligence is because it is the drone operation is launch of Hormuz that is signs the into the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, there is and it also has Iran asset even under attack and is to be to have of Iranian assets, especially drone technology, is a replenishment of drone. So this was the American target. The I think of this conflict to and in the I think peace has taken this was from the beginning. Right. Serious, they were very serious.
I'm going to just ask you now there's 5 incoming missiles air base you 5 in this breaking come back by you you know the US also now I'll start what
I think the abilities and some the for coordinated change and will fight against rogue regime as to Hezbollah not supporters of Hezbollah and around so it's a that Iran is going to attack in this only the GC only going to they are going to science is ready to if Iranian all the countries so I think justice but you're violating the of these and it is which use proxy in the middle who have, is and carry out war and of for now. So because Iranians and they are because of there is the Middle East, the state, the knows it, and the is the of oil, lot of oil at the moment, but cooperate with it, they know, and the regime is wiped out east and but then think all the pair of
having an advantage, Major Samarpa, you agree with me on that. Please, and news that now we're moving on South Asia, where has yet again tried Afghanistan. It millions in Pakistan. One has Pakistan has 13 civilians in the civil area war. Pakistani strikes to the where people have killed approximately 15 last time once of and province have in death as health for people. It Pakistan violate not a military or of Afghanistan is attack resulted in deaths for 30 people, 15 people including and now comes a violation by Afghanistan face calling him and our have major come in this try more how is it that even against violent ceasefire?
The event goes hand for is trying to divert attention. This time out the task as of Africa and the province out among the and on 30 have lost life while similar number of injured that have been in Pakistan mentioned those who have been injured in yes and children so it that and not on a specific Pakistan of the in it was pure destruction away in Pakistan or Jammu where we have and for the divert situation and all there was hostilities or line was talks taken place Middle East table talk all going but all sudden strikes from Pakistan without education Afghanistan side clearly shows was the divert going that in Pakistan occupied Kashmir right
you. I'm back to Major Sabur. How do you understand this situation? Like, this that is clear one of the days, one of those more strong and just aiming the violence.
Where you want to get in the world, the league has county. So what the team most coming here. So once that, then Pakistan is going to be right. So what such a situation to world that already angled again that internal they have created and separate place and protest is they protest the road. So basically, is no just in and will they and best solution information out of Pakistan. They need, in fact, try to avoid a situation and American I see the as they have need get thousands of fuel on illegal basis. There is now trade being going on. Pakistan the Pakistan they want to that they are doing Afghanistan that they or be test project test that so try it again Pakistan to try again being but
much really comment on this. Thank you so much for joining us. It's time to 50 states. In fact, for now, it's where Mark prime in the trust that long he became the first elected and he went 1994. He has done from 2015 now, but not very long